class, welcome to our session. I hope you are excited and ready for another Scottish live lesson series. So this is the second of our series, and this is for our P4 to 7 children out there. So hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us. So quick introduction, because you might not recognise my face. Oh, my, turn that off. I could hear it in the background then. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Miss Kimball. So I am an educational consultant here at Just2easy. So I'm going to teach you and your teacher how to use Just2easy. And we've done this whole Scottish live lesson series specifically for schools out there in Scotland. So hello and welcome to all of you guys. I hope you're excited. So let's have a look at what we're going to do in this live lesson series. So this is what we're going to create over the whole of the 3 weeks. So you are going to join me every Thursday for the next 3 Thursdays, and we are going to create a fantastic presentation all about Scotland. Okay, so I've called mine This is Scotland. You might want to name it something different, okay? And for each of these lessons, we're going to create different parts of this presentation, and we're going to pop it all in. We're going to wrap it all up in this lovely file here. So this is the first thing we're going to do today, is we are going to create our own tartan. Okay, so we're going to have a think about what we're going to learn, and then we'll have a look at what we're going to create. Okay, we're going to explore what tartan is and why it is so important to Scottish culture. We're going to find and load the library resource called Design a Tartan. Okay, so we've made that really easy to find, and teachers are also going to give you step-by-step instructions in case you're watching this on demand. We're going to open that up. So that is a JIT Paint file. So we're going to choose colours to create your own unique tartan design. And then you're going to export your tartan. So we're going to save it as an image, and we're going to add that into a J2 create file, and then we're going to save our J2 create file. So lots and lots of things for us to do today. We're going to be very, very busy. So that's just today's session. And this is what we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating our own tartan design. So I've got this template ready to go, so we don't have to draw the lines. They're already drawn. We have to fill them in and create our own design today. Okay, but first of all, we're going to have a think about what tartan is. Okay, so these are 3 different types of tartan. So you can see they're fantastic patterns. So it's a special kind of pattern made out of crisscross designs in different colours. So you often see it used on kilts, scarves or blankets, and each tartan pattern is made up of weaving stripes going up and down and side to side. So these stripes make squares and lines in a repeating design. So you can see here we've got lots of a similar pattern. So we've got squares, lots of crisscross squares, but because we're using different colours, we're using different thicknesses of lines, it gives a really, really different pattern. Okay, so in Scotland, tartan is really important because different families or clans each have their own tartan. So wearing a certain tartan could show which family or area someone comes from. So it's much like wearing team colours or a family badge. It's also used during special events like weddings or ceilidhs. I apologise profusely if I have mispronounced that. Let me double check because I wrote it down. Ceilidhs, Scottish dance. I should know, I have been to one actually, and people are really proud of their family tartan. Okay, so that's what tartan is. So let's have a look at how we're going to create our own tartan. Right, if you're watching this live, we have made it so that this button here is showing at the top of your launchpad. So teachers, if this is the first live lesson that you've done with us, hopefully your children are logged in and ready to go with Just2easy. If not, don't panic. You can pause the session, give your children time to log in, and then you can start the session at any point. So that goes for the rest of this series. If your children need a little bit more time to follow along with what's going on screen, then please feel free to run to the front of the classroom and pause the session. I'm just going to move my camera down a little bit. There we go. That's a bit better. So you should have design a tartan at the top of your screen. Now I don't, I have latest resources, but can you see the top of my screen? Yours hopefully should say design a tartan. Now if it doesn't, or if you're watching this on a recording, teachers, you'll need to share this tartan template through the library. So students, don't follow along with this bit. I'm going to show your teacher how to find the design. This is the problem with relying on these library resources, unfortunately. So you can pause the session, teachers, if you want to just follow these instructions. You're going to open the library, you're going to search for tartan, you're going to open the create your own tartan resource, you're going to click share, and you're going to share with your relevant class. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to do that. So you're going to go to library, you're going to click in this search box, and we're going to look for tartan. And this is the resource that we're going to share. So we're going to click on this, and you're going to click share. And then you're going to share with your class. And click OK. Once you've done that, the students will be able to find that within the library. So you can click on the library. So students, you will either need to, if you can see design a tartan along the top, okay, then you're going to click in this tartan print. Teachers, if you've had to share it, they will open up the library and then they'll click on their tartan, and we're going to open this resource here. So hopefully you have got your tartan resource ready to go. So students are going to click here, and that is going to open up our resource. Okay. So as we said, tartan includes lots of different colours in different patterns. So you can see here we've got our tartan outline. We've got these lines going horizontally and vertically, so up and down and side to side. Okay, so we're going to use our different colours in these boxes to make different patterns. Okay, and for our younger students, so if you're joining us with P4s or below, you can just use these 11 preset colours here. So we can click on these colours and we can colour in. So I might start with a red, for example. Okay, and I could colour that in using my brush, but that's going to be really tricky because I've got a circular brush and a square that I want to colour in. So we're going to get to these corners and we're going to end up with white in the corners, and it's not going to look very pretty. So what we're going to use for this whole design is we're going to use the fill tool. So can you see this paint pot here? There we go, that one there. That is the fill tool. So we're going to click that and we're just going to leave that on. Okay. So now when I hover over my template, can you see I've got my paint pot, and that's showing me where I'm filling. So which box I'm filling. So I might start with this corner box, for example. Okay. And if we just reflect back on my tartan, so I'm going to go back a page. I'm going to reflect back. In our tartan, there's lots and lots, can you see? Lots and lots of different shades going on, different colours. There aren't too many different colours. So can you see in this one we've got yellow, we've got red, we've got kind of a darker red, and a very dark green colour. So we've only really got 4 colours in that particular tartan. In this one here, we've got slightly more because we've got a red, we've got green, we've got a darker green, we've got a much darker green, and then this one's kind of a blue colour. Okay, so we've got kind of shades of green going into dark blue. And then we've also got a white stripe. And in this one is very much the same, but in same colours but different pattern. Okay, so we really need to think with our tartan, we don't want too many different colours, but we might like to use different shades of those colours. Okay, so what we can do, we can use these colours here. Okay, but, and for the younger children, if you are joining us with much younger children, they can just stick with these shades and just colour in the different squares. But for you older children, can you see, I'm going to zoom in just so you can see what I'm pointing to. You don't need to. Okay. Can you see this button here at the bottom? And it's got this little, called a pipette, so this little white button here. We're going to press that, and that is going to open up our colour wheel. Our colour wheel. Okay. So, just in case you didn't see that, we pressed that little white pipette button there, and that brought up our colour wheel. So this allows us to choose any colour around the outside, and then we can choose any shade. So I've got red, and I might want to choose a different shade of red. So can you see I'm clicking in this box here, and it's giving me lots of different shades. So I've got a very pastel-y kind of pink colour. If I click in the middle, I've got more of a red. If I click towards the bottom, it's much more of a brown kind of colour. And I can scroll around the colour wheel. So I might want more of an orangey red. So I can click orange here, and then I can choose more of an orange colour. So I really want you to think about what colour you want in your tartan. So teachers, this might be an opportunity for you to pause and maybe have a discussion with the children about maybe giving them a choice of 3 or 4 colours that they want to use, and they can then use this pattern. Okay, or you can just let them crack on. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to choose red. I might try and create something fairly similar to this. So I'm going to go for reds, yellows, a kind of dark red and a dark green in some squares. So that's what I'm going to go for, but you can choose different colours. Okay. And in fact, I'm going to create some yellow lines to start with. So I'm going to start with my yellow. So I've chosen yellow on my colour wheel. I'm going to choose a shade of yellow that I'm happy with, so that's quite a nice one. And when I choose my shade, I then click OK and I can start colouring with it. And in fact, I might make it a little bit darker, so I'm going to go down a little bit. There we go. So more of a kind of goldy yellow. And I'm going to make this line here yellow. Okay, so to make a line, I'm going to colour in a square, and then I'm going to colour in all the squares that go in a line all the way across. So can you see? Like this. So I'm going to keep clicking and keep clicking. So there we go. I've got one nice yellow line. And then I think I'm going to colour in this line down here as well. So I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to click, click, click. I'm going to keep clicking until I get all the way across to the other side. Now don't worry if you add it in the wrong box. So I've added that in a box by mistake. Don't panic. There's a couple of things that we can do. Okay, we can press the undo button at the top. So can you see up here, over here somewhere? That is my undo tool, so that will take it away. Okay. The other thing I can do is I can just paint over the top, so I can leave that and I can think, right, I'm going to paint that a red colour instead. So you can use the colour that you were going to use instead. So those are two options. You can use the undo button, you can use the different colour, or you could paint over the top with white and that will reset it. So don't worry, you will probably make a mistake with this tartan. You'll probably have a think and think, oh, actually, it might look better if that line was green or gold or red. So you can change things later if you think that they look a bit better a different colour. Okay, so there we go. So I've got my tartan. In fact, I'm going to paint that white. I've got my tartan yellow stripes, and I'm going to have two yellow stripes going this way as well. So I think I might choose this line here. And again, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to keep clicking the boxes until I've got a nice line, and I'm going to choose this line here. Now I must admit this tartan pattern is not exactly right. Some of the squares are a bit off, but we have to make do. Okay, so I've got my kind of squares. So I've chosen like these goalie squares, and now I'm going to start adding some more squares in the middle with different colours. So again, I'm going to go with red, I think. You can choose a different colour. You don't have to copy me. So at this point, teachers, if they're quite happy and they're, colouring in squares, you can just pause the session and let them crack on, or just leave me jabbering away in the background. So children, if you feel like you're happy and you know how to use this and you're filling in your squares, you can carry on and do that by yourself. Okay. Um, if you are copying me, I'm going to choose a different colour at this point. I'm going to go for red, but I'm going to go for a nice sort of dark red. Yeah, I think that was quite a nice red. Okay. And I'm going to click OK. And again, I'm just going to fill in some boxes. I'm going to do it in a square, in a line at a time. So I'm going to go for this line, and I might go for this line as well. And then I might fill in this line. And this line. And then this line, I think. Okay. So we're slowly filling in all these lines. Now don't worry, we can add additional lines in later. If you want to change any of these colours, you can. So we can adjust our pattern as it evolves. So as we draw and we add more paint into our tartan, we can see what it starts to look like, and we can change it. It's not a problem. So very different to tartan that is created using fabric, where you have to think of the pattern first. This one we can kind of change it as we go along. And then what I might do is I might have this line here. I might add all of these. I might make them red. So there we go. And then I think I might have I think I'm going to go for a dark blue at this point. So I'm going to choose a blue, make it quite dark. There we go, that's quite nice. And then I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to make this line dark. And I'm going to colour in some of these ones that I've painted red already. Okay. I quite like how that looks. And I'm going to do, I think, this line as well. But I'm going to leave my gold one because I think the gold stripes are quite nice. And I think I might just leave these red bits and colour these blue bits in here. And then my last one I'm going to do up here as well. And there we go. So I'm almost done. My goodness. Okay. And then I'm going to choose one more colour. So again, I'm going to go for, I think, a red, a darkish red, but not the same dark red. Now, what I will say is if you want to reselect a colour that you've used already. Okay, so for example, maybe I want to add some more red blocks. Okay, I don't have to guess what colour that is. Can you see? I've clicked on the pipette, so I've got my colour picker. So this isn't just a colour picker. This isn't just a colour wheel tool. It's also a colour picker. So what that means is I can hover over anywhere on this picture. Can you see? Can you see this funny little circle here? Now, if you're using a touchscreen device like an iPad, this doesn't really, it does work, but you won't get this because you can't hover. So you will need to click on the page where you want to select the color. But you can see, because I've got a mouse, or if you're using a device with a mouse, I can hover my mouse anywhere. And can you see that's changed to blue, it's changed to white, it's changed to gold. So that's allowing me to pick a color that I've used already. So if I click, can you see that has gone directly to where that color was on the color wheel, and I can click OK. And that means I can keep painting some more. So that's how we can reselect colors that we've used previously. Okay, so that is our color wheel tool, and then our color picker, we can hover over the rest of the page. But I'm going to go for a slightly brown kind of color, I think. Yeah, I don't know actually. Let's go for a darker red. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to click. Oh, that's quite nice because can you see it's just a little shade lighter. I might even go just a shade lighter than that. Meh. This is the perfectionist in me now. Uh, let's try the darker shade. Yeah, I prefer the darker shade. Okay, so I'm going to use that. It's a lighter shade than this, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to see what it looks like, and I'm going to paint in all of these lines. I'm going to see what that looks like. Hmm. I think I might make it even lighter actually. Let's try this shade. Yeah, that's a bit better. There we go. So you can redo anything on your tartan once you're done. So if you think, not quite sure that that looks okay, you have the option to change the shades of things. And that is our tartan done. Okay. Okay, teachers, I am going to move forward. So I'm going to show them how to export their tartan and add it into a J2 create file. So if they need more time, just press the pause button and then press play once you're ready to restart and carry on. Okay. So children, what we're going to do now is we're going to export this image. So you're going to press this button up here, this save button. Okay, can you see the orange floppy disk? We're going to press that and we'll get our funny saving circle. So that is going to save our JIT Paint file. That's going to save to our My Files. Okay, so if you need more time, you can save this and you can come back and open that from your My Files a bit later and carry on painting if you need to. But we need to use this in J2 create. So we need to use this in a different file. So what we need to do is we need to do something called export. We need to export this image. Okay, so can you see top right hand corner? And in fact, I'm going to change my presentation because I've got it on my presentation. Okay, we're going to find this image here. So this is the save as image or the export file. So can you see? It is this top right hand corner of your painting. That is the save as image button. So it's very important that we do this, otherwise the next bit won't work. So you need to click that button. Okay, and it's going to give you that funny kind of box that appears now. And you'll know that you've saved it because can you see it's grayed out? So we've got a little ghost save button and a ghost save as image button. So if that is still showing, you need to press it. As I said, otherwise the next bit of our project won't work. Okay, so before we move on, you need to make sure, teachers, that they've pressed that save as image button. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start our This is Scotland presentation file. So we're going to be using J2 Create for creating this sort of fact file or presentation. So from our launch pad, so you're going to go back to your launch pad, you're going to find this tool here. So this is called J2 Create. It has that kind of tab along the side. It used to be called J2E5. J2E5. It's very difficult with my Brummie accent to say 5 without saying 5. So I'm glad they changed it to J2 Create. So we're going to open up J2 Create. And this is what a plain or blank J2 Create file looks like. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to rotate the page. So at the moment, the page, can you see, if I scroll down and scroll up, the page is in portrait. Okay, so it is like this way up. We want it to be this way up. Okay, now to do that, at the bottom of your page are your background options. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in again just so you can see. You don't have to zoom in, it just makes it easier. So can you see over here? I always forget it's back to front. Over here, there are page layout, page color, paper backgrounds. So we're going to click on that button and it's going to rotate it. So can you see that has now rotated my page? The long length, the long side is along the top of my page. So that means it's in landscape now. Okay, so brilliant, job done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change our page color. And you can change your page color to whatever you want it to be. And to do that, can you see next to the page layout, so the orientation is paper color. So we're going to click on that. Again, I'm going to zoom in just so you can see this button here. And can you see it's got a tick next to it now? So that's really important. So we've clicked on that and it's got that tick. And then along the right hand side of your page, you've got your different colors. So again, we can choose a color and then you've got your shades along the bottom. So I'd like you to choose a nice color for your background. And don't worry, you can change it at a later date or a later time. So I just want you to pop a colour on your background. And now we're going to add in our tartan that we created. Okay. Now to do that, we're going to click up here. So at the top of your page, can you see it's called the Wee Green Man? It seems to have, it's a nickname that seems to have stuck, the Wee Green Man. That is that button there. That is the pictures tool. Okay, so that is for adding any images. So we're going to use that a lot in this project. Okay, we're going to click on that and that is going to load up. There's me and my daughter playing around. So I forgot to delete that. So you can see here I've got lots of different tartans. And that is where we will find our tartan picture. So we can click and drag that onto our page. Okay. Now it might be that you want to create more than one tartan. So you could go in and open up that library file again and create another tartan if you want to, and then you can add that in as well. But I've added that in, so I've just dragged it onto my page, and it's very tiny at the moment, so I don't want it to be very tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on it, and we've got these blue squares that appear. Okay, so those are our editing squares. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag on that corner box. So can you see the corners? And we're going to drag these diagonally. So that means kind of not sideways, not upwards. Diagonally means this way. Okay, so I'm going to drag that. It's very blurry, isn't it? And then, oh, there we go. That's better. Now what I'm going to do, I don't like this white box. You might want to leave the white box around your tartan. I don't particularly like it. So what I'm going to do, can you see these blue boxes along the side? So these are different to the corner ones. The corner ones make your image bigger or smaller. These side ones will crop your image. Okay, so we can click this side one and I'm going to drag it almost all the way to the side of my tartan. I'm going to do the same with the other side. And then the same from the top and the same from the bottom. And there we go. And I'm going to pop that in the corner. So I might make that a bit bigger, a bit smaller. And there we go. Okay. Then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to label that image. So we're going to tell the reader or the person that's looking at your presentation, we're going to tell them what that image is. So what is that image? It's a tartan. Well done. Okay, so we're going to write my tartan. So you can click anywhere on your page and start typing. That's what's really lovely about J2 Create. And then we can resize and adjust that text the same as we did with our image. So we're going to double click. So instead of clicking, so you can click once for an image, but you double click for text. And can you see my blue boxes have appeared again? Probably not very easy to see that. We can drag that to make our text bigger. And then you've got your editing tools along the right hand side. So we can do things like changing the font. So I can use this drop down menu and change the font. I can change my text color. I can make it italic or underline it. I can even put it in a box if I wanted to and make it in the center. So there we go. I prefer it actually without a box and I can drag it around. So there we go. So children, we've almost come to the end of the session. Teachers, if you do want to extend this activity at all, you can. You might want to get them to write a sentence about what they did, reflecting on what they did in today's session. You might want to get them to research what a tartan is and to write in a paragraph about what a tartan is. You've also, at the top here, this is a multimedia tool, you've got record sound. So that is another really nice element, so children could add a sound reflection onto this page, just reflecting on what they've done. So I will leave that up to you to decide whether they need an extension or not. But children, what is a very important thing that we need to do with our digital work before we end our lesson today? Hopefully you said save our work, because that is the most important thing. We don't want to come to next week's lesson and for you to have not saved. So we're going to click this floppy disk button up here. So that is the save button. We're going to add a title. So I'm going to have this is Scotland. Now I'm going to add 2 on mine because I've already got a This is Scotland example. I don't want to overwrite it. And we're going to click the save button and that is going to save. Okay. And if you are a bit nervous about whether it is saved or not, you can go to your Launchpad, you can go to your My Files, and there we go. We've got our This is Scotland picture file, shall I say. Okay. So hopefully you have found that interesting and exciting. Hopefully it's all worked for you teachers, more importantly. So next week we're going to add in a bit more. We're going to do a digital collage using JIT Paint. We're going to export it and we're going to add in some text into our J2 Create presentation as well. So lots and lots of content for us to create. You can add content into this file if you want to in the next week, as long as it's related to Scotland, of course. And hopefully I will see you for next week's session. This session will be available on demand, this and all of our other sessions. So should you need them, they're on our YouTube channel.